My career started many years ago in sales and marketing. I worked for some large companies. I opened up the Western United States for a large pizza chain, and during that time I started having my family, and we were living in Northern California. And so I stayed on that career path for many years, and then at about the year 2000 our family decided to sell everything and have the experience of a lifetime. We bought a 65-foot sailboat and we moved our children, who were then 5 and 8, aboard, and we lived aboard for 5 years and actually got to go cruising. So when we sailed back into San Diego in 2000, we tried to pick up again and start our careers over. We bought another home and whatnot. But it was really challenging. I tried to do some things but never could really get back into my career. And so it became stressful in life. And I would go into depression, and then to help myself out of depression, I would drink wine. I was a very social person. I always was. I love to have fun. We've always had a lot of friends and a lot of social activities around just our personal lives and our work lives. But I started seeing this pattern developing over the next few years. As we went into the recession, my husband went back into corporate. He lost that job. We lost 3 parents right in a row. So I imagine any one of those things could throw someone into depression and, looking for something to make them feel better. And that's exactly what happened to me. I started relying on wine to make me feel better and to make my life easier, just to cope. It was just so hard. When you've worked your whole life and you've had success and you've raised an awesome family, I have 2 wonderful boys, and to see yourself having behavior that you just never fathomed you would have, but that's where I was. So I tried a lot of things. I knew I was in trouble and I needed some help, and so I tried to get help. I went to a counselor, and while all of those things helped give me some relief, and I had a little break in using alcohol, I just wasn't, really conquering it like I knew I needed to. And so I saw an ad in the Reader for the program at Scripps many years ago, and I cut that ad out and I carried it with me for years, but I never called. I never called because I was afraid. Who wants to admit that they have a problem like this? It's embarrassing. Society looks down on anybody with an addiction, and I sure didn't want anybody to know the real story about me, because that's not what people saw on the outside. I was a high-functioning alcohol abuser, and I knew that. And what I really wanted to do was to be able to show my kids before they got too old or left home is that their mom had a challenge in life, and that no matter how difficult the challenge was, even an addiction, that you can get control of it and get victory and continue to have success in life.
Alcoholic patients struggle to seek treatment to get sober just from the beginning. It's a scary decision, a scary proposition to come in and go to a treatment center and fear the feeling of withdrawal. The initial sensation of being sober is highly uncomfortable. They experience anxiety, depression, insomnia, and who would want to feel that? So many of them start to drink again. It's very understandable that they would. The treatment that we use to help them with these initial withdrawal symptoms exacerbate those experiences altogether. So SSRIs have side effects of anxiety and nausea and insomnia, sometimes nightmares, and that is a double whammy for them. They feel like the uncomfortable feelings of withdrawal, in addition to the side effects of the medication, is completely intolerable, and they can't stay sober.
One day I was working up in Los Angeles and I said, I've had enough. I'm going to get control of this. And so I made the call to the Scripps Research Institute. And I contacted Dr. Mason's program, her lab. And fortunately I was able to get in and see them right away. The way they laid it out for me was that I would be meeting with them once a week, and they would be possibly giving me a medication, or it could have been a placebo. I never knew what I had. And that I would receive counseling and medical attention. And so it was a very well-rounded program. I just felt very confident that I was going to be in good hands at the Scripps Research Institute. After the first few weeks, I could really start feeling myself changing. I was becoming healthier. My mind was becoming more clear. And I was just rebuilding my confidence in myself. Because when you've gone through an addiction, you really lose your self-confidence. And boy, for me, that was really rough.
I've been working in the area of developing new treatments for alcohol dependence for over 30 years. And what keeps me involved and engaged and trying to find new avenues to explore is the joy I feel from a person really turning their lives around. I really honor the people who come into our lab who recognize they have a problem and want to do something about it, and we can meet them with the cutting edge information about the changes that occur in their brains as they've evolved from using alcohol to abusing alcohol to becoming dependent on alcohol. At Scripps, I've had the unique opportunity to collaborate with basic scientists who have taken the lead in identifying the changes that occur in the brain as one moves from alcohol use to abuse to dependence. And we use this information to identify potential treatments aimed at restoring the brain to a more balanced way of functioning so that people don't experience severe craving and disturbed sleep and mood that prompt them to relapse to drinking.
The work of Dr. Mason gives us hope that we can say, this is treatable. This is more treatable than it has been in the past.
We recently completed a study of gabapentin for the treatment of alcohol dependence that showed gabapentin can help people cut down or quit drinking while at the same time improving their sleep and mood and reducing craving.
I really appreciate studies like Dr. Mason's from Scripps Research Institute because it validates the use of medicines like gabapentin. We never had a target dose for gabapentin, and now I do, and I'm thrilled. I've treated over 2,000 patients for detox from alcohol in the last 4 years. And before Dr. Mason's work came out, I started many of them on gabapentin, but at a much lower dose than her target. Since her work was released, I am starting almost all patients on gabapentin after they detox, and sometimes during, to help them with this withdrawal symptom and with the post-acute withdrawal so that they're leaving from the hospital with this helpful tool in hand.
When it comes down to it, our work is based on individuals struggling with alcohol dependence and working day by day, week after week with us to quit drinking, return to functioning, becoming more confident, more secure in their self-esteem, and finding other ways to take pleasure in their lives than by drinking. However, alcohol dependence has not been an area of interest for the big pharmaceutical companies. It's a terribly underserved area. Less than 9% of Americans with alcohol dependence ever receive a prescription for an FDA-approved medication. The changes in the brain that drive alcohol dependence have largely been ignored in alcoholism treatment settings. That's why I believe our work is so important, because it tends to be an area that's underserved both by big pharma and by traditional alcoholism treatment settings. And I think the work that we do here can really make a difference in the health of Americans struggling with alcohol problems and the families, co-workers, and society at large that are affected.
What that program has done for me, it's totally changed my life. I've rebuilt my confidence. I've been able to go out and build some new businesses. I know what it looked like when I was in darkness, but now I'm in total light. I have a new life, I have hope, I'm doing things, I'm totally giving back. And that's what I was intended to do. I was intended to give back to others.